Station, this is the recorder. How do you hear me?
We hear you loud and clear. Welcome aboard the International Space Station.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. This is Anita Phillips, the recorder in Greenfield. Cady, hi. I interviewed you a couple of years ago for a piece in Yankee Magazine. How are you?
I'm great. It's nice to talk to you again.
Hey, nice to talk to you, too. So, Cady, you're away from your son and husband for the next 6 months, and during that time, are you going to miss any birthdays, anniversaries, school, or other kind of important events, and how are you going to deal with that?
Well, I think I'm going to miss actually all of the above, although luckily for me, all the boys in my family are born in August, so I'll be home for their birthdays. But, you know, being up here is pretty special, and I think that they think it's special as well. We have some capability to talk to them by video and certainly by phone, or it's sort of a phone anyway. I can call down to the ground, and I talk to them, I'd say probably every day, at least once a day, and try to call and say goodnight.
Okay. And how often do you normally have contact with your son and your husband when you're in Houston and when you're training and that kind of thing?
Well, since Josh and I have been one of those couples that are, have a commuter marriage or a long-distance marriage, we've lived apart really for almost all of our married life. Being up here in some ways is a little easier than the life I've led for the past few years. For the past few years, I travel around the world training and spend actually not so much time in Houston, but there's Houston, there's Russia, there's Japan, there's Europe, and then every weekend that I'm in the States, I try to go home to Massachusetts. So it's been a little hard to see them, and I'm always calling from different time zones, but now I'm always on the same time. We're always the same number of hours apart. I pass over their house and over their heads usually almost every day, and we get to talk every day. So it's actually a little more stable than our commuting life has been for the last 20 years.
And what's the first thing you're going to do when you get home?
Ooh, after the shower? I get pictures on, whenever I turn on my computer, I see a different picture that's been sent up, and many of them are from our home in Shelburne. And, I think just standing outside and looking outside and smelling the outdoors is going to be enough for me, no matter whether it's winter, spring, fall, or summer.
Okay, how did you prepare? How was preparing to live on the space station different than, say, traveling on a shuttle, having to deal with, different countries, building different things, and how do you, and also up there, how are you dealing with accelerated bone loss and some of the other physical issues?
Well, those are two big questions. The first one, in terms of preparing, we've got we've had people flying on the International Space Station for a number of years now, and we actually know pretty much what we need to do up here and what we need to know how to do. And so there's a list of classes and things that I need to learn before I come up here. And so I've been doing that for the past few years, and to me the international part of it is very exciting, mostly because that's the way we operate, and so I'm very pleased to train the way we operate. And it's important to me to know some of the faces behind the voices that I hear when I talk to the various mission controls around the world. And so having trained in those countries with those people, I know who I'm talking to, they're talking to me, and I think it makes for more direct communication, and we get, I think, more work done in a quicker manner. In terms of the bone loss, we exercise almost 2 hours a day, both aerobic and weightlifting, and that seems to help with some of the bone loss. And I'm also a test subject for some different osteoporosis studies to understand how some of the different drugs work or don't work in our accelerated bone loss cases.
So tell me a little bit about what you guys do up there during the day. When you get up, when you go to bed, what you eat, what you do for entertainment, and what you're doing work-wise all day long.
Well, we're on a schedule. We wake up, we're about 6 hours ahead of Massachusetts. 5 hours ahead of Massachusetts. Wake up around between 6 and 7 in the morning, and we start our day with a conference with the various mission controls all together, all of us on the station, and then all the mission controls all on one call talking about what we're going to do that day. The plan, the schedule will already be on board in electronic form, and each of us, Paolo, Scott, and I, and the Russians as well, has a timeline that says what we should be doing all day, and also tells us what activities might be time critical. So we're busy. I mean, often each thing that you need to do, there's different pieces of it. Start this, let it go all day. We do station sort of maintenance and making sure the station is working right, analyzing air quality, water quality, things like that. And then there's experiments like I did yesterday, which took much of the day. I did basically what we would call a stress test, where I'm riding on a bike, and I have instruments everywhere. Instrumentation. I have electrodes and EKG leads and blood pressure and pulse, and I'm breathing into a bag and into a tube. And so we're able to understand exactly how my body's reacting under stress and how it reacts differently. So we're doing medical experiments, and then a number of different material science and plant growing, chemistry, you name the science, and we are doing it up here. And it's really fascinating to me as a polymer chemist who graduated from UMass right there in Amherst. It's great to be up here and see science in action, although some of that action is slow. We're watching things grow, taking photographs, starting cooling cycles or heating cycles, and then analysis cycles. So a lot of different experiments that really just can't be done down on the ground due to our microgravity weightless environment.
And what are you eating and doing for entertainment when you have downtime?
Well, for entertainment, actually I think for Paolo and I are still pretty new up here. There's just floating around is just the most fun thing that we can do, and just understanding how to work in this environment. We also have some entertainment like music and movies that are set up here, and that really helps the exercise part of it, because 2 hours a day can be a lot of time, and so we can listen to music and watch different things. And sometimes after dinner, we all at dinner time we tend to all go and pick our food from our crates of food, which are all divided up by category. There's eggs and meats and vegetables, and we sort of put a meal together, heat it up or rehydrate it, as the case may be, and then eat together, and sometimes just watch, some show that one of us has had sent up here.
Okay. Are there any in particular that you guys are enjoying?
Scott says we're enjoying football. I'll take the fifth on that. I'm actually enjoying watching Scott watch football. That's pretty fun. And in some comedy shows, and we also try for some shows that are common to, they're easy for all of us to understand, being from an international crew. And so we've got some of the more physical comedy shows tend to be pretty funny. And I don't know, lately we all seem to be enjoying reruns of Seinfeld.
How is what you guys are learning up there going to help me down here? What are you bringing back, or what do you think you'll be bringing back that might help me in my daily living?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind for me is osteoporosis. Up here, we lose bone mass and actual bone at a rate about 10 times that of a 70-year-old woman who has osteoporosis. And yet, if you try to study that population, you might find that there's a lot of different, physical and medical factors that are complicating it, whereas we have up here, as test subjects, tend to have fairly clean medical history, and the rate of bone loss is so accelerated that we can see changes in just the time we're up here. And so I'm taking some drugs up here to prevent bone loss, and we're able to analyze, various tests to see whether I am actually preventing bone loss. And we'll also look at my bones before I left and then when I come back, and understand, what the difference is. And I think that has a direct effect on anyone in the world population affected by osteoporosis, which is a large number of people. In terms of physical science experiments, we're understanding a lot about what materials and also what plants can really do. In that we can do experiments up here and take away a really big controlling factor down there on Earth, which is gravity. We can take most of that away, and we can understand more about how materials really act. We're able to identify active sites in viruses to lead to vaccines for diseases. A lot of different kinds of experiments, and it's fun to do them.
Cady, you're the only woman up there, and right now, and you said that Sally Ride was your inspiration, and you are obviously inspiring other young women. How do you feel about that? How does that make you feel to know that you're doing the same thing she did for you?
Well, I just try to do my best and do a good job and hope that when some young girl looks up and thinks well, boy, she looks kind of normal, and if she can do that, then I can do that too, or I can do what I'd like to do. That I'm very proud to be a part of that, and I just try to do my best and see what happens.
And what about the view? What's the view like up there? Do you have windows all over the place where you can see out, or is that something you're going to have to wait until you go to the robotic arm? Or
we have a cupola module, and it's got it's windows on all sides. They're not that big. They're about maybe 40 centimeters, or about a foot big. And then there's a big round one in the top. And most nights, I would say, after work, we go there. Or during the day, if you have time, you just go and look. And looking down at the Earth is it's simply amazing, and I'm not sure I will ever get tired of it. During the day, it's fascinating to see the detail, and at night, it's actually neat to see all the brightly lit cities go by, and helps me with my geography a little bit. It's a fascinating place, both day and night.
Okay, Cady, are you playing the flute up there?
I do have it up here. I have to say the first 2 weeks has been, it's 2 weeks today that we've been up here, and it's just so busy just learning how to work up here and making sure that you're getting all your work done. I haven't been able to break my flute out yet. It's actually put together and sitting in my cabin, but haven't played yet. I'm hoping to do that this weekend. We have a holiday weekend.
Okay, thank you. I want to thank you and the crew, and have a great mission.
Hey, it's really nice to talk to you, and I'm really happy that you're managing to talk to folks in Western Mass about what we're doing up here. I think it's really important, and I love flying over Massachusetts.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the reporters portion of the event. Please stand by for a voice check from MSNBC.
I said, look, stop panicking. Take a step back. In a perfect world, what would you like to do? And she just said, well, I've got this show idea. Would love to do it. I said, great, let's make it happen. So,
Station, this is MSNBC. How do you hear me?
me.
We hear you loud and clear.
For it. And then also she enjoys writing, so she wants to get back to that.
Great. Stand by. We are going to be coming to you in 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
In the media, her career in the media is over. She would want to work in the media after dealing with this.
Years on the International Space Station for 10 years, if you can believe it. Up next, live from space, what it's like living on board.
This is MSNBC again. Just wanted to let you know the anchor you will be speaking with is Chris. Chris is the anchor, and you will be live interview.
Okay, thank you.
30 seconds back. 30 seconds.
Hi, guys. It's audio. Do you hear me?
Hear you loud and clear.
Thanks.
Now, if you're a glass half full kind of person, you might say that the thousands of Americans still waiting to get home after Christmas will at least have some interesting tales to tell. But no one, arguably, has a more unique holiday story than our next guest, even though they're just a few hundred miles from home. From way above us in the International Space Station, Commander Scott Kelly, Flight Engineer Cady Coleman, and ESA astronaut Paolo Nespoli. And from here on Earth, we send our New Year's greetings. Scott, let me start with you because I laughed just a little bit when I saw you grew up not far from here in Orange, New Jersey, which got socked in this snowstorm. So I'm curious what you see from way up there.
Well, like you said, we're a little over 200 miles above the Earth, and we have a great view of our incredibly beautiful planet. But as far as being able to tell how much snow you got there on the Northeast, it's pretty hard. You know, we could tell that there's snow on the ground, but couldn't tell the magnitude of the blizzard that you guys unfortunately experienced. But the planet is beautiful, and we certainly enjoy looking at it in our spare time.
And even though you missed the holidays with your families, Cady, at least you didn't have to shovel. I guess you can look at it that way. Tell us what you guys are up to today. Give us an inside look at some of the cool stuff you have up there.
Well, today for me was a largely medical day. We're interested in how the body works both on Earth and up in space, and up in space gives us some insight into how it really works. So today we actually did a very extensive ultrasound on my heart, and also looking at different blood vessels around to see how they change in a microgravity environment.
Well, you look good. I don't know what the test results are, but you certainly look good. And Paolo, you're from Italy, a more recent addition to the crew, just a few weeks into the station. So what's it like up there? What's the transition been like for you?
Well, it's an interesting world up here. You're used to gravity, and you come up here and you have to learn everything by scratch. You don't walk anymore. You go around with your hands. Everything floats. You let things go. You look for them on the ground, and they're floating away. So all of these things are very interesting. In fact, they're so interesting that some of the scientists are looking at our brain, trying to figure out how our brain responds to this new environment. And this is applicable to people on the ground that have some kind of accident or something, and they have to rewire our brain. But it's very, very interesting, and I actually laugh when I float through the lab and lose control and start rocketing, tearing things apart. And of course, Scott's look at me with a stern face. I need to learn all of this, and it's very nice and fun.
Well, we're all jealous, I must say, those of us here in the news business. Paolo, Scott, Cady, thanks to all of you, and Happy New Year once again.
You're welcome, and Happy New Year to you, too.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event. Thank you.
Thank you, the recorder and MSNBC. Station, we are now resuming operational communications.